Hey everybody, welcome back to another iiRcade Gamedaze. I'm your host, Michael, executive producer here at iiRcade. So without further ado, happy Friday everybody. Welcome back. I know the return of the Snatch, it's going to be gone soon, so enjoy it while it's here, right? So let's talk about some news, right? Some housekeeping things. Let's start with the new software update 9.10, as I like to call it, or 9.010.000. Some people have been having issues because they didn't keep their machine up to date necessarily, right? So if that's the case and you are hitting some issues still with this update, make sure that you contact at iiRcade.com. So email contact@iiRcade.com and we can actually resolve that issue for you. I do have to do it manually in the cases that this does happen. So it's been pretty rare, which is great. Most everybody's works for the most part. It's just if you are having very, very big issues and you are on older firmware specifically. So if you're on an older system update, like anything below 9.009.003, if you're below that, so if you're on like 9.008, or some people even on 9.001, right? So haven't ever updated. Yeah, it's going to cause some issues because of some deeper level fixes and changes that went into this system update specifically. So because of that, if you are hitting issues, please do contact at iiRcade.com, email them, and we will resolve that for you. So no problems there. So with that too, Game and Brew Night coming up on September 10th in about 2 weeks. So I'm excited, I'm stoked. I'm also very busy planning and getting everything ready for you all who are attending the event for it. So the email was events@iiRcade.com. However, we are at capacity, right? So do note that. So those of you who are emailing in a little bit late still too, because it's been going for 2-3 weeks now, right? We are at capacity. We are not accepting any guests any longer. However, you can get put on the standby list, which is growing very rapidly, mind you. So if you are interested in coming still, I can't guarantee you a spot. However, you can be put on the standby list right now by just sending an email to events@iiRcade.com for the Game and Brew Night. Coming up on the 10th, on September 10th, right? So like 2 Saturdays from now, which is awesome. Super stoked, super excited to see everybody. I can't wait for that too. It's gonna be a good time. But yes, so and those of you who are attending, we will send out other emails as well too. If you should have already received at least an initial email. However, you are on an emailing list, so because of that, I will send out another email in probably a week's time or so, just to touch base one more time with you, just make sure everything's peachy keen. All right, and then beyond that, glossy marquee covers, right? So this is a hot topic right now too, right? So the glossy marquee covers, the initial shipments that we had, there were 2 initial shipments that we had that were sent without the glossy marquee covers. We are retroactively sending those out to the people who don't have this piece, this actual hardware piece, right? Goes in front of your marquee here that you see behind me too. So what happens is your marquee is matte, and then the glossy insert simply just goes over that in front of it, right? So you do have to peel off both sides of the plastic, and then you'll see it's just fully transparent. You slide that right in front of the marquee. Unfortunately, those of you who were in the initial 2 batches, they didn't come with your machines, right? Because we didn't add this until after they already shipped. Because of that, we are sending those out right now too. They're in the mail now, so they're just waiting to come out too. Sorry for the packaging. I know the packaging's a little rough. I'm not a packaging company. We did our best with the materials that we found online and stuff. There's no packages that just kind of fit a marquee, sadly. So, and I didn't want to send them in little boxes because that would have been a whole lot for a plastic piece, right? So didn't want to do that. So they are in these weird folded things. Be sure to be a little bit gentle ripping them open, but the marquees themselves are hard to damage, so no worries there. But yes, if they come in the mail, you are unfortunately, if you are in that batch who's getting these, you do have to pop off the side panel. It's super easy to do. All you have to do is change the cam locks. The cam locks inside all have little arrows. Those arrows just need to face the direction that you want that piece to pop out. So makes a lot more sense when you're looking at it. However, say if piece is here, you want the piece to go this way, the cam lock arrow just needs to face upwards. That's all you have to do, right? So just righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So left until the arrow faces upwards, pop that piece right out, right? So they all have to be loosened and then pull off the side, pop in that glossy insert, and you're good to go, right? So that's the deal with the marquee pieces that are being sent retroactively back to the users who didn't have them already, right? With that too. So let's move on to one more topic too that I wanted to touch on today too. I'm not quite sure what's going on necessarily, but there seems to be a lot of discourse within the community right now, online at least, that I get to notice. So it's not a fun part of my job, right? Dealing with community members who are a little bit out of line sometimes, right? But beyond that, all I wanted to do is touch base with you too. Regardless of any of the other companies and things like that in the space, it doesn't really matter to me. The more stuff that I have to deal with messing with knuckleheads online, the more time gets taken away from me making fun stuff for all of you, right? So please don't make me do it. I don't enjoy doing it. It's not something I ever want to do too. So with that, just as far as the community stuff goes online, just keep it civil, all right? Everybody, have a good time. We're all here to play games and just have a good time. So it doesn't matter what products we're talking about, what games we're talking about, anything like that too. It's good or bad, whatever, it's cool. You know, everybody has their opinions on everything. I get it. I understand. Hot topics, things get heated up, whatever. But just so you know, we don't really support any kind of behavior that's not just positive and things like that, right? So just with that, just keep an open mind, keep positive online too. Just want to say that to all of you too. So yeah, a lot of you are already too, so no worries there. But in case you find yourself sort of straying from the path, here at iiRcade at least too, we promote positivity, that's it. So just have a good time, play some games, that's what we're all here for, right? So just want to touch on that real quick. And with that, let's move on to the first game of the day, right? Our first new game. So let's talk about that right now. So of course, here at iiRcade, we like doing both classic retro games as well as new modern games, right? So Lode Runner Legacy, of course, fits right into that vein. So we have the entire Lode Runner series, Lode Runner 1, 2, 3, and 4, as well as now Lode Runner Legacy, right? The new modern version of those games, as well as adding its own new features and new modes into it, right? So Lode Runner Legacy, it's based off the original 1983 game, right? By Tozai Incorporated, which is awesome. We're so glad to have this game. With that, I mean, you can expect a lot of the same sort of classic Lode Runner tropes. So same sorts of enemies, same sorts of themes. You're going to be digging left and right the entire time too, blocking things out, creating bridges with enemies, things like that, right? Using enemies by putting them into holes, dropping them down chutes, climbing up ladders, collecting gold the entire time. So of course, every single level too gets more and more retroactively difficult. There's literally over 100 levels in this game, and on top of that too, you've also got classic mode in this game too, which includes the entire 150 levels of the original game included in this, right? So, which are, you know, different art style, things like that. So it's kind of cool. So you can play the actual like old school retro version in this game, as well as brand new version of the game too, right? With this in Lode Runner Legacy, you also have two-player mode activated too. Some of you might know Lode Runner 4 that we have on the system right now too actually does also have two-player simultaneous play. However, Lode Runner Legacy has its own puzzles that are dedicated to just two players, which is awesome. So go ahead and join with a buddy. We can do that today, right? Join with a buddy, a friend, family member, whoever you want, right? Or play it solo. It's totally up to you. So Lode Runner Legacy has all those features for you coming at you today, right? It's already online on the store for $11.99. So big shout out to Tozai Incorporated. We're so glad to have this game on the system, and I'm glad to have another sort of like retro game that's been brought back to life via, you know, modern gaming, right? So love it. It's awesome. Check out Lode Runner Legacy today. The first game for online play today is Captain Tamade, right? So Captain Tamade is an amazingly interesting shooter, right? So this is another shmup. So it's top-down. It is a two-player simultaneous game, so of course that's why we're including the online play for you today. So let's give a little backstory on this game, right? It's kind of a weird one, right? Captain Tamade is in fact a tomato, right? So the time is the near future, right? At the Institute of Space Research, weapons were being developed to counter the invasion of the eggplant aliens, which was expected in the future. So of course, we've got eggplant aliens in the future, right? So just be prepared for that, everybody, too. Grab your pitchfork, shovels. I'm not really sure how we fight off these kind of threats. I don't know. However, Captain Tamade does. So Captain Tamade uses his fists. So you can punch left and you can punch right. So it's a very different kind of shooter game, of course, right? So less shooting, more literally using your fist, right? Just punching everything. So Captain Tamade floats along. You can use A as your left and B as your right as far as just punching. And then you also can charge for specials. You can actually hold and charge both hands at the same time to do ultimate attacks too, ultimate punches, you know, things like that. So it's a very different, unique game, very fun. If you like those very quirky kind of shmups, this is definitely for you, right? So a game like the game Paradise especially is a sort of similar-ish to this, if you will. However, kind of in the same vein, but beyond that, it is very unique Captain Tamade, of course, too. So if you're looking for just a different shmup, that's not just, you know, planes, trains, automobiles, things like that, right? So it's not just set in space or anything like that, too. It is set on Earth, just in the future, where, you know, eggplant aliens have invaded. So yeah, check this game out today. Super fun and super challenging. The later bosses especially can definitely get more and more difficult. So have fun playing Captain Tomaday online with your buddies today. Next game coming at you for online play today is going to be Powerballs, right? So Powerballs you can play as a cast of different goons essentially too with bats. It's pretty much it, honestly, right? So you're going to take turns. So two-player game, of course, simultaneous play with the online. So join in today. You literally just swing your bats left and right. So direction of the bat does change the direction that the ball moves, right? The ball's going to bounce around as well as destroy everything, basically, right? The goal is to entirely clear out. Usually it's a pier that you're playing on, I'm going to say. A pier or a city street is about right. There's birds, there's cats, there's a lot of other things too that pop out of the different things that you break, trash cans, crates, barrels, boxes, whatever they might be too. I'm sure there's some vases along the way too, because who doesn't like breaking vases, right? But yes, you're just going to hit the ball back and forth. It's going to bounce around, right? And then you got to make sure that when it's slinging itself back at really, really high speeds, that you hit it and you don't miss it, right? So the moment you miss it, you lose, right? So that's how this game works. So easy to pick up, hard to put down kind of game, right? So difficulty curve, especially when the ball gets faster and faster too, there is a speed gauge within the game that you can see going off. So as the ball gets faster and faster, this game gets increasingly more difficult. So choose your different goon today. Have some fun. So this was Powerballs coming at you for online, and it's available right now on the iiRcade store. And last but not least is Dark Seal 2 online available today, right? Some of you might also know this game as Wizard's Fire, right? So this is, of course, the sequel to Dark Seal, the first one, which some of you also might know as Gate of Doom, right? So it has two, the US and Japan titles are different, so there you go. So this is another dark fantasy game, right? It's an action RPG, top-down isometric view, which is awesome, sort of like a Diablo kind of style game. If you're into like Dungeons and Dragons, high fantasy, like dark fantasy especially too, this is the game for you, right? If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. Being a fantasy nerd myself, I love this game, right? Dark Seal is one of my favorite series of all time for arcade games. So it is action-packed. You can play as 5 different characters in this one. So you can play as the knight, the bard, the wizard, the elf, or the dwarf as well too. They all have different resistances, different armor abilities, and of course different attack styles, different play styles. With that, you can pick up different specials to power up. You build up your magic meters, and you can always unleash powerful attacks in this game too, when you're fighting things like dragons, demons, undead necromancers, things like that. So bringing everybody back from the dead. This game kind of has it all too. So if you're into dark RPGs, this is great. Tons of cutscenes as well too. Fantastic art style for back in the day especially too. I love this game a lot. The music's really banging as well. So have fun playing this online with your buddies and friends and family today.
Hey guys, it's Liv from iiRcade. Happy Friday, everyone. And so as you guys know, today we are releasing Lode Runner Legacy, and I wanted to dive a little into the history of the series itself. So Lode Runner was actually created by a high school student named James Bertsanos after he heard about the game Space Panic from a friend of his, and he was pretty intrigued by the whole concept, so he decided to develop it further by writing a program for it using simple text-based graphics. And then following the release of Donkey Kong a few years later, James and 2 other students that he met developed a prototype of Lode Runner that they called Kong. And then a few years after that, James brought his game to a studio who said it did not fit within their product line, but he was given 10 grand to further develop the game, and thus Lode Runner was released on June 23rd, 1983. The original Lode Runners are your pretty basic 2D puzzle platform games, and they're tons of fun, as we all know, but if you're looking for something a bit more modern, Lode Runner Legacy is definitely the way to go. It has multiplayer mode and more than 100 levels throughout the various game modes. There's also a ton of nostalgic levels if you go into classic mode, as well as hidden levels. So definitely check it out, and happy gaming, everyone.
That's your iiRcade Gamedaze news for today. Remember, check out Lode Runner Legacy. Tons and tons of content in that game. Those of you for high score chasers especially too, there are Global Leaderboards 2.0 for iiRcade on there right now as of launch today. The entire Lode Runner series, of course, you can also check out on the system. Plus, we've got new online games. Dark Seal 2, one of my favorites of all time. So if you're just a fantasy nerd in general like me, check out Dark Seal 2 or Wizard Fire if you want to call it that. Check it out today solo or with a buddy online, as well as Captain Tomaday for your quirky shmup, and Powerballs, which is super challenging, especially at high speeds. Don't sleep on Powerballs. It is a very, very challenging game. Remember, it is an M-rated game as well, too. Keep that in mind. So, and with that, happy Friday. Hope you all enjoyed yourself, too. Check out some of the shows later on tonight, especially it's a Friday night. For those of you looking to play online, plenty of shows on YouTube. Just search iiRcade on YouTube. I guarantee you'll find plenty of shows going on live tonight with people playing and checking out games online. We've also got the iiRcade Zone coming up at 7:30, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 p.m. CST. We got the finale, the grand finale for the summer series, right? So check that out tonight. We got those with the commemorative tokens, so that's kind of fun, right? I'm excited to give those out finally. They've been sitting on my desk in my office for a while, so I'm excited to give those out for the Summer Series winners, and of course, I'll see a couple of you in a couple weeks, right? So I'm excited for the Game of Brew. And with that, we'll call it a wrap. All right, I'll see you all next week. Maybe live, maybe not. We'll find out, right? Until then, see you soon.